Episode 374, Time Flies. Big words, the old man repeated, shaking his head. I had heard that the Clifton family in Baltimore was important, but now I see it's nothing. How dare you? Someone called, as the whole family got to their feet, several of them brandishing weapons. Furious, they were ready to attack the man as soon as Jessup ordered it. No one could insult the Clifton family in front of Jessup. They wouldn't stand for it. The bodyguards walked over, and the dinner party was all but forgotten. The old man didn't even look at the people who were scowling at him. It's not an insult, he said with a faint smile. Few families in the world can compare with me. Jessup wasn't happy, but he didn't know how to react. Not without knowing who this man was or why he was here. He glanced at the other members of his family and then turned back to the old man. You say Lee was nothing, he said. Are you claiming to be more powerful than Lee? The old man chuckled. Lee was one of the top fighters for the Blood Brothers, he said. He had a fair amount of skill and he practiced constantly. He fought me once, and he ended up in a coma. Still, I was impressed by his courage, so when he woke up, I gave him some advice. At the time, I never expected him to improve so much and make a name for himself. Jessup was shocked. Did the old man believe what he was saying? If this was true, then his skills must be much greater than those of Lee. No wonder he was so arrogant. Everyone was stunned. They were all aware of how strong Lee had been, and they could never have defeated him. Luckily, Alex had done it for them. The younger man's expression shone with pride as he looked at the old man. What are you doing here? Jessup asked, having decided not to provoke him. They already had enough enemies, so they didn't need any more. It was better to be cautious. The old man didn't answer. Instead, he looked around and saw an enormous clock in the garden. A gift from the Baltimore underworld. The clock had stood in the garden for many years. Its copper color shone in the sunlight, highlighting its ornate decoration, which was a testament to the importance of the Clifton family. The old man walked over to the clock and placed the palm of his hand against it. Everyone watched, unsure what the old man planned to do. Nice clock, the old man said, patting it. But it really needs to be higher up so it can be seen from further away. Otherwise, what's the use of it? Jessup watched the old man, not bothering to answer. The old man squatted down and gripped the bottom of the clock. Then he straightened up, lifting the exceptionally heavy clock above his head. His face showed no sign of strain. Everyone gasped as they watched, knowing they couldn't have lifted it. One man was so stunned that he sat down hard, his mouth hanging open. How could an old man do such a thing? He made it look effortless, as though it weighed as much as a feather. No one had ever lifted the clock before, and they weren't sure that even Alex would have been able to do it. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, then they would never have believed it. The old man still held the clock up in the air. Then he walked over to a large tree. He didn't seem to be struggling under the clock's weight, and each step was steady. He hung the clock on a branch of the tree, but the tree couldn't take the weight, and the large branch snapped. I guess the tree isn't as strong as I am, the old man said, catching the clock before it hit the ground. He walked over and put it back in its place. No one dared to get in his way. He was far too strong. Not even the 4 moon maidens could match his power. Jessup frowned. He knew that the old man was deliberately displaying his strength as a threat. "Tyson Slade," Jessup said, realizing the old man's identity. This was a disaster. The Clifton family was now in serious trouble. His family all began to talk at once. They had heard of Tyson, but they had never expected him to come out to see them like this. "The leader of the Blood Brothers gang? He's here in person? How could this happen?" Everyone knew that the Blood Brothers gang was an enemy of the Clifton family. The Stedman family had relied on the gang in the past, and the Cliftons had suffered for it. The Clifton family was now in a lot of trouble. "I see you've heard of me," Tyson said, looking around at the panic-stricken people. Jessup was surprised, but he didn't show it. "The leader of the Blood Brothers visiting my home?" Jessup asked. "Are you looking for revenge?" Jessup was an old man, and he no longer feared death, so he refused to be intimidated. The rest of the Clifton family followed his example, preparing themselves for the attack. Tyson slowly approached them. "Revenge on the Clifton family?" he asked. "Why bother? It would be like squashing bugs." He pinned Jessup with his gaze. "Where is Alex?" Jessup was stunned. "Alex left here 2 weeks ago," he said, his tone steady. "I'm afraid you've missed him." "Oh? Is that so?" Tyson asked, his eyes sweeping over the crowd. Everyone shivered under his attention. Tyson grabbed the huge clock and threw it at a wall, sending bricks flying.